Man vs. Wild was one of the best survival shows ever, but it turns out that it was pretty much all fake. Bear Grylls always came across as this incredible survival expert, but it's now coming out that a lot of the show was actually staged and not real at all.
And action! I'm just gonna drop this second vine down onto that ledge.
And you'll never believe what exactly wasn't real. First, we have to talk about the unforgettable episode where Bear Grylls finds himself stranded on a desert island. He extracts water from a snake, quenching his thirst in the most dramatic way possible. But here's the thing, according to some rumors, just a few hours earlier, he might have actually been drinking bottled water, which if that's true, is kind of disappointing. But there's more. There's also that amazing scene where Bear is seen building a raft. It seemed like he built that from just some random bits and pieces he found. However, insiders hint that there was actually a dedicated crew lurking just outside of the shot, armed with tools, materials, and maybe even a manual or two. Again, that just kind of dims the lone survival spotlight, doesn't it? We also have to talk about the episode where Bear is apparently left to fend for himself, aimed with nothing but his wits and a camera. That was just unforgettable. But rumor has it that it wasn't as real as we thought. Apparently there was a nearby hotel complete with fluffy pillows and room service where Bear would retreat after a hard stay survival.
While filming an episode in the Sierra Nevada mountains, Grylls enjoyed the nightly hospitality of the Pines Resort at Bass Lake, a modern lodge resort offering 2 on-site restaurants, a spa, and other amenities.
That definitely makes you wonder about how real the show actually was, but let's not jump to conclusion just yet. When confronted about these claims, Bear himself stepped in to clear the air. In an honest interview, he openly admitted that certain scenes were actually set up, but he said that this was primarily for safety and logistical reasons. And he also claimed that the survival techniques showcased were genuine and could very well save a life in a real life scenario, although not everyone agrees. Take for instance the episode set in the scorching landscapes of Africa where Bear demonstrated how one could supposedly extract drinkable water from elephant dung. Based on what he said, this technique should work for anyone in that kind of situation. However, Lestrade, the star of Survivor Man and a seasoned bushcraft instructor, begs to differ. Having filmed many episodes in Africa himself, Les clarified in a Reddit AMA that extracting potable water from elephant dung isn't actually very realistic. But that's not all, because there were many more survival tactics shown on Man vs. Wild that were a little unrealistic. Everyone remembers when Bear drank his own urine to stay hydrated, and let's be real, that's not an idea you should be giving to people. But it gets even crazier, because Bear likes to pretend he's the lead actor of an adventure movie, and he seemingly always finds the worst way to get to places. According to critics, one of the most dangerous tactics Bear always shows is putting himself in dangerous terrains when he really doesn't need to. When you watch the show, it honestly feels like he's looking to get injured instead of spending a little while scouting so that he doesn't have to jump and leap his way to places. But there's still more. Back in 2015, Bear thought it'd be a good idea to leave his 11-year-old son Jesse on a rocky bit by the ocean with the tide coming in. He said it was all for a training exercise for the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. But get this, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution folks had no clue about his little stunt, and they were not impressed. I mean, who goes and puts their own kid at risk for a little training exercise? That's just insane. Interestingly, Bear claimed that Man vs. Wild was never supposed to be a raw documentary. It was supposed to be an edutainment show, a blend of education and entertainment, but it turns out that a bunch of those wild scenes were actually not so wild after all. A former crew member spilled the beans about how some of those intense moments were well staged, like the time Bear tried to catch and ride a wild Mustang. It turns out that that was just a chill horse they rented from a local trekking place. And remember when he jumped over that flowing lava? Well, apparently that was just some hot coals, a little bit of lighter fluid, and a smoke machine. Basically, it was all an illusion. But let's be honest, while it's clear that some of these situations were staged, the essence of the survival and the spirit of adventure were still there. But after all, staging some scenes doesn't take away from the fact that eating bugs or rappelling down difficult terrains requires guts. But when the controversy first came out in 2008, there was no way out of this for Bear, because people were not happy about being lied to, and that's exactly why he apologized to the fans. He admitted that some of the events in the show weren't realistic at all, and he promised that he'd be more transparent from then on. And guess what? The show started putting up a disclaimer stating that some of Bear's scenes were supported by staff and fabricated so that he could demonstrate their survival tactics, which I guess is good, but there's still one more thing we have to talk about. Bear has always been portrayed as this big survival guru, but if you dig a little deeper, you'll find that he wasn't really deep into the whole survival instruction scene before his show kicked off. Sure, he did a stint in the UK's 21st SAS Division for 3 years, picking up some combat survival skills, but guess what? That's not what made him famous. Before Man vs. Wild hit our screens in 2006, young Bear was making headlines for other wild adventures. He climbed Mount Everest at just 23, sailed across the North Atlantic in a blow-up boat, and even threw a dinner party in a hot air balloon way up at 25,000 feet. In the grand scheme of things, whether every scene was authentic or had a touch of drama, Bear Grylls undeniably knows how to captivate an audience, which I guess is what makes good television. But what do you guys think? Did you know that Man vs. Wild wasn't always real? Are you surprised by this? Let me know in the comments below.